everyone, so today I'm going to be talking about the pros and cons of general education courses or gen eds. Most universities require you to take gen eds if you are pursuing a 4-year undergrad program. I'm not going to say all schools because I know that there are like liberal arts schools that don't have them, or like certain music conservatories don't have them, and I'm sure there's other schools that don't. But my university does require students to take a certain amount of general education courses, and I really like to help people find ones that will benefit them in the long run. So I like to find things that will pertain to my career. I am majoring in instrumental music education, so I like to find classes to take that will eventually help me teach. Therefore, even though it's not a class for my major, it's going to help my major. So let's get right into this because I know it's probably going to be a long one. I like to ramble. My first pro is that these gen eds can help boost your GPA, especially if you are a fine arts major, specifically a music major. At my university, music major classes are worth like 1 to 3 credits. And that's usually, 3 is usually the high end. They're usually 1 or 2 credits. And credits are usually the amount of hours you are in a class per week. Well, my 1 credit hour classes, I'm usually in class for 5 or more hours a week. And the reason that happens is because music majors have a lot more classes to take than other majors do. And therefore, in order to fit all of these classes into your schedule before you graduate, they can't be worth as many credits because there is a credit limit. At my university, there is a 19 credit hour limit, so you have to stay under that. And I take about 10 classes a semester, not credits. I take 10 classes a semester, which is a lot. That is usually between 17 and 19 credits. This fall, I'm taking 10 classes and it's 18 credits. So that was a long explanation, first of all, so I'm sorry. But second of all, if you choose gen ed courses that are worth 3 or 4 credits, and you get a really good grade in them, it's going to boost your overall GPA because those classes are worth more than your degree classes. That is directly related to the first con, which is that if you get a poor grade on a gen ed, it will lower your GPA, especially if you are a music major like me and your other classes aren't worth very much. So while people might say, oh, C's get degrees, sure they do, but it will also lower your GPA a lot, which I know not everyone cares about GPA, but it is something to think about because it will affect you. Oh my god! Whew! That startled me. Holy poop. I'm gonna have to take a minute, I'm sorry. Okay, so, where was I? So, I was saying like, my heart just stopped, oh my god. Okay, so basically, anyways, before I was rudely interrupted by a bird, C's might get degrees, but like you still need to think about doing well in your gen eds because a lot of jobs, especially if you're going into education, will look at your transcript and will look at your grades. So that is something to keep in mind. My second pro is that gen eds allow you to customize your curriculum. You can take pretty much whatever you want within reason. Like, it has to fit within a category. And at my school, we've got a program called DegreeWorks, which is an online system that you can look at what classes you've taken and what requirements you still need to fulfill. And it'll have like a list of a bunch of different classes you can take to fulfill those requirements. And usually the gen eds have upwards of 10 classes each that will count towards it, and you only have to take 1 of them. So in those 10 classes, you're pretty much guaranteed to find something that you're at least slightly interested in. And so I really like that because I can choose classes that I want to take, and the university can't be like, No, because it's in that requirement list. You could choose whatever you want. This kind of leads into my second con, which is that even if it's a topic you're interested in, you still have to divide your overall focus. As a music major, this can be really difficult. First of all, because it's like really hard to fit gen eds into your schedule anyways, because you're taking so many classes. It's hard to fit them in time-wise. But other than just like actual in-class time, it's difficult to take your focus and time away from music, because not only do I have 10 classes, but I also have a requirement of 2 to 3 hours a day of practicing on my own for solo things. And then I also have to think about ensembles and eating. Eating's a big thing that music majors need to remember to do, which is really hard because we hardly ever have time, but food is important. Also sleep. Sleep is very important. So once you find all the time that you need to focus on everything else, it's really hard to squeeze in a gen ed class that doesn't really pertain to your major, which is why I think it's important to choose things that will help supplement your major. My next pro is that you can expand your perspective and your intended career path. And what I mean by this is that if you take classes that will pertain to your career, you will be able to incorporate what you learn in those gen ed classes into your job. So for example, I am going to be teaching music, and by taking art, science, history, English, by taking those classes, I can figure out how to incorporate them cross-curricularly into my lesson plans for when I'm teaching music, which is super cool, and that's what a lot of schools like to see you be able to do. So that's a fun thing. That can kind of lead into my next con, which is that it's difficult to see the practicality of when you're actually going to use the gen ed's information that you will be learning. And I don't have as difficult of a time with this because with education, cross-curricular lesson plans are really important. So I always just think of I'm taking stats, I'll be able to use stats and incorporate math into my lesson plan, or I can use math to figure out the probability of what my students will get on a certain grade, or I can find the average of how many hours students are practicing a week, or blah, blah, blah. You can figure that kind of stuff out. So I don't have as difficult of a time incorporating what I'm learning or figuring out how I'm actually going to use my gen eds, but I do understand how other people have that struggle. So I think it's really important just to try to figure out a way. Otherwise you might be miserable. So it's really important to think about when will I use this and take that into consideration while choosing your classes. My fourth pro is that it can be a nice break from the mundane things in your life. I'm so used to just going to the School of Music, being there from the beginning of the day till the end of the day, seeing the same people all the time. And I'm in that building for all of my classes except for my gen eds. So therefore, gen eds are a nice break from that. So I can go see new people, I can go to new buildings. It's nice just to get outside once in a while, have some fresh air, go for a short walk across campus. I think it's just a really nice break. But this is directly related to my next con, which is that sometimes I don't want a break. I'm here for music and I just want to learn more about music. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's hard to take gen eds at the same time when you want to be focusing on your degree and your major. And that's why I suggest taking your gen eds in the summer, because then you are only focusing on the gen eds at one time, and then during the school year, you're just focusing on your major. And I don't know, I just find that that's really helpful. The one thing to take into consideration if you are going to be taking classes over the summer is that you have to make sure the credit will transfer. If you're taking the class through your university over the summer, that's fine. I know a lot of people who will take classes through their community colleges near their home, and you just really need to make sure that the classes you are taking over the summer will transfer to your university. Otherwise, you basically wasted your time. I mean, you will still have learned something from it, but it's not going to actually count towards your degree unless the credits transfer. So that is a big thing you need to pay attention for. My fifth pro is that you are one step closer to finishing your degree. And I think this is just like the one thing that really keeps me motivated. Is just like, this is just something I have to do. And I also like to think that you get what you give in gen eds. If you think about them positively, you'll most likely have a positive experience. You'll most likely learn more rather than if you're negative, which leads me into the next one, is that a lot of people, this is the next con, a lot of people don't see the benefit of taking gen eds, kind of like I said earlier, but you need to remember that college is about expanding your knowledge in an array of topics, not just the one you're there for. Sure, that's what you're focusing on. That's why it's called the major, because it's taking up the majority of your time. So I just like to think that, I'm here to learn. I'm still learning, even if it isn't music related, and I can incorporate it other ways. So again, like I said, if you have positive thoughts, you're going to have a positive experience. And if you have negative thoughts, you're most likely going to have a negative experience when it comes to gen eds. So I hope this video has been helpful for you. If you have any questions, just leave them down in the comments below, and I'll be sure to help or try to help. So yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye!